While the field of presidential hopefuls narrows, the sitting president launches a full-court press to close the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. What's the thinking about this in the House Armed Services Committee and in the House in general? And what about the candidates still standing? Can a business tycoon really speak for millions of Americans feeling marginalized? Should he? What are the alternatives? Teachers cope with changing educational standards. Capitol Hill gets behind an effort to encourage literacy to meet those requirements. Veterans, some with us, some at rest, are being given their due around Ocean and Burlington counties. All this and more tonight on the agenda as we ask the Congressman, and you're welcome to join us, 732-505-1160. I'm Tom Angeli. Mr. MacArthur, good to have you back again.
Well, thanks, Tom. Good to be here.
You have been busy as usual, and I know you have a couple of stops tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Well, I have a lot of stops every day. Today was mostly around the Joint Base, and over there tomorrow I have an open house in Beechwood. I like to do those when I'm back. I like to go into a community. We just invite everyone and anyone.
This is Coffee with the Congressman.
It's Coffee with the Congressman, and I'll usually make some brief remarks, but most of the time I just wander the room and go group to group, person to person. And that's when you really find out what is on people's minds.
This is at the community center, and that's going to be at 4. Right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a nice community center. Have you been in it?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's terrific, and they did a great job after Sandy.
Yeah, they did an outstanding job refurbishing the parking lot, beach, the whole 9 yards. I am told by George Casillas from Stop FEMA now that you're going to stop in at that.
I will be there too, yes.
Seaview Village.
Yes.
In Brick, and that's going to be tomorrow night.
Yes, it is.
I want to get into that whole Sandy issue too. Well, we got a lot to talk about.
We're all over the place. I'm starting the day with police officers, and then we've got some events, the town hall and Stop FEMA. All good opportunities for me to talk to people right here in Ocean County.
What about the police officers? What are you doing?
Well, they've got a meeting and asked me if I would come talk to them. So I'm happy to do it.
Good.
Talk about some of the things we're doing in D.C. to try to support them, and most of all, hear what's on their minds.
Yeah, we had an awful thing this week, and I'm sure you're aware of it. The state trooper who.
Yes.
And we have a move-over law. You know, there's no federal version of that, is there?
Not that I'm aware of, but you know, we owe a lot of respect to the people that protect us day to day because one, they're at risk, and two, they really do keep our society safe, and they secure liberty for us. And I like to support them at every chance that I get.
Without a doubt. They're out there, they're placing themselves on the line when the rest of us aren't. We take our chances, but they take more of them every day.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a presidential race or at least a primary race that's shaping up a lot weirder than I thought it was going to be. I don't know how it is for you, but I really didn't. A month ago, we were saying, well, Christie's not going to quit. And by golly, not only did he, but he's thrown his weight behind Donald Trump. I wasn't expecting that either. So it's every day is like a surprise for me in this race right now.
Well, you know, when I got elected, Tom, I went to Washington committed to working with other people, both sides of the aisle. I talked about it, and I've lived it out in the time I've been in Congress. And I refuse to get stuck in the bubble that is Washington. It's the rhetoric has been disappointing to me, and I really would urge the candidates to try to step it up a notch. I think John Kasich, for example, has had a tone and an approach that's worthy of the office, and I wish all of them would adopt it, and let's elect who we're going to elect in the primary and get about beating Hillary Clinton. I think that's the priority, and not attacking one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, it's funny. You can look at the debates. You took part in our debate, and it was a whole different ballgame. You know, I mean, it was measured. It was informative, and the little mudslinging that went on didn't come from the winner or the runner-up.
Well, and especially for the office of president, I think any president in waiting should carry themselves with the dignity of the office. And it's not just, I'm not just talking about one person. I could point at numbers of candidates who I think have acted in ways I wish they wouldn't.
Sure.
We need to be proud of how we go about this process. But it is what it is. And again, I think our focus needs to be on beating Hillary Clinton. We cannot afford another 4 years of these kinds of progressive policies that are putting our country in a bad way.
Yeah. But let me ask you, really, I mean, he was a successful businessman. You're a successful businessman. You may have an understanding of this man from a viewpoint that a lot of us don't. Within politics and within business, we laughed a long time ago when the prospect of Ronald Reagan as president came up. He's an actor. I mean, there was that stigma about, well, he's an actor. How could he possibly be president? Now we're looking at this guy and we're going, oh, he's in real estate. Now, how could he be president? Well, is it really that far-fetched? And if he becomes the candidate, can you get behind a guy like that?
Well, I will support the person that can beat Hillary Clinton. And because I think she would be damaging to our country. And so the short answer is yes, I will get behind the Republican who wins, because I think all of them, this isn't just party loyalty, this is about what's right for the United States of America, and we need a different direction and a strong commander-in-chief. As far as the individuals go, I'm not publicly endorsing anyone right now. I was when our governor was in the race.
Right.
I'm not now, but I think you have to look at the arc of a person's whole life, not just the words, not just the performance in a debate and what you think of that. You have to look at the whole arc of somebody's life and think about who can get things done and who is, going to move the country in a positive direction forward.
Now, when you say Hillary Clinton, that is because ostensibly she would be the candidate, but you were talking about any Democrat.
Well, let's just talk about the two that are out there now. If it's not her, it's Bernie Sanders, and I most certainly can't support him either. He's
this is along ideological lines. This is not. This is philosophical.
Yes, I don't think we need more progressive policies. What we need to do is trust the American people to run their lives. We need to leave more money in their hands, because every dollar that gets created by the labor of our citizens gets spent by somebody. And I trust the people of our country, and I trust the businesses and the business people to spend that money that they earned much more wisely than government bureaucrats. And I've long believed this, Tom, but having spent the last month's year and a quarter in Washington, I believe it tenfold now. We do not need unelected bureaucrats who didn't earn the money deciding what pet programs they want to support and which groups they want to call winners and which they want to call losers. It is a recipe for failure. And I will always trust individuals and businesses to make better decisions. So, of course, there are things we have to fund at the federal government, and certainly chiefly among them is our security. And I will always make sure that we have enough to support that, but that's what I'll advocate for. But beyond that, we do not need another 4 years of a president that wants to raise more and more and more money and pay for a progressive agenda. And maybe we talked about this the last time we were together.
A little bit, yeah.
But the president's budget is doubles spending, takes the debt up to $27 trillion over 10 years. It is a mountain of debt and spending and pain for the American people to support policies that I don't think the American people support. And so we just can't afford that. And we have to, I have to fight against it.
Let's ask the Congressman for the month of March. And Congressman Tom MacArthur is with us. And we have a call. Do you want to take one?
Sure. Let me put my headset on here.
Let's put him on and see who's here. Welcome to Ask the Congressman. Brad, can we have a little A little gain on the headsets just so we can bring it. Ah, good. Yes. Thanks for calling. What's your first name? Where are you from?
It's George Casillas. How are you?
George, welcome back. George has been a guest here.
George, how are you?
Stop FEMA now.
I'm doing well. How are you, Congressman?
I'm doing fine. I'm looking forward to being with you tomorrow night.
We look forward to having you. Thank you. Thank you for coming and helping all the Sandy survivors.
George, what's it about? What's your thrust tomorrow?
A bunch of these seniors in the Seaview Village in Brick, New Jersey, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have some concerns. We have to raise our homes now, FEMA or Brick. We don't know. We have to raise our homes, and we can barely get into our homes as it is now, and we don't want to do that. Our flood insurance is going to start rising, and a couple other Sandy issues and just flood insurance issues." And I said, the congressman has been a great advocate for everybody and anything concerning Sandy and flood insurance. So I said, hey, maybe we can get the congressman and the senator's office and even a few mayors in the area to come down and discuss, how we can help these folks and give them some understanding and maybe even change some laws in Congress.
And this is going to start at 7?
It's going to start at 6:30 tomorrow night at 29 Jetty Court in Brick, New Jersey, and at Seaview Village Clubhouse. And the congressman will be there. Senator Menendez's staff will be there, and a couple other mayors might be dropping by also, just to explain what's happening in their community, and not just it's not just something that's happening only in Brick.
That's great news, George. Congressman, anything for him?
Well, we'll talk more about it tomorrow night, but I am also concerned about these flood maps. I think what George is referring to is flood maps that are not yet final, but they're causing people to have to raise their homes.
Everything that's being done is being predicated on preliminary maps,
and
not finalized maps.
Well, and so I'm trying to get my mind around what is the role of the state in using federal maps that aren't yet final, and are there things we can do to stop that? And we'll talk about that tomorrow night. But I'll tell you what, I hear about this an awful lot. People are in one flood zone they've built to certain construction standards, and now it's changing for them, and it's causing a lot of heartache for people.
To say nothing of the expense.
Well, yeah, that's right. And if you don't raise your home, then your home has less value. Your home has less value because it comes attached with a big flood insurance price tag, for the future.
Right.
And for most Americans, their home is their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a big deal to people.
Absolutely. George, thank you for giving us the update.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you, Congressman, tomorrow.
You too, George. Yep, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
It's been at it quite a while, and it's good that you can get there. So you understand the situation that has been ongoing practically since day one. And you hit it right on the head when you said, for many people, their home is their retirement. You can look along the shorefront, and it's littered with people and houses. They don't have the money. That was it.
Yeah, there's two sort of parallel tracks I'm running on when it comes to Sandy. One is the very current desperate need of people that are still not home, or their situation isn't resolved even if they are home. Things like we just talked about, where they might have to incur a great deal of expense to lift their house. And so I'm trying to help with those very real current needs. A big part of what we do is constituent services, and a lot of people that come to us, they come with Sandy issues. Mm-hmm. And we try to help them, even though most of it is at the state level, we'll try to help anyone who comes to us. But at the same time as we're doing all that, the second track is the future, and how do we reform certain elements of our disaster program so we don't have these problems again. So, for example, a provision that I put into my very, very first bill that was trying to stop FEMA recoupments. Remember we talked about that many months ago. Well, one of the provisions in that bill was putting a statute of limitations on FEMA, because up to now, they go back 10, 15 years later. They're going back to people from Katrina and demanding money back. And when the long arm of the federal government comes and demands money and says, we'll garnish your wages, there's not a lot you can do about it. So I got a 3-year statute of limitations now into the FEMA reauthorization bill, and that did pass Congress just in the last 10 days.
Congressman Tom MacArthur, for this edition of Ask the Congressman, we're going to step out for a brief minute, and we will be back. Please join us at 732-505-1160.
Let Congressman Tom MacArthur know what's on your mind. Call 732-505-1160. Ask the Congressman continues next. News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310.
New ownership and a completely new vision of care are now available at the all-new Willow Springs on Burnt Tavern Road in Brick. With state-of-the-art renovations underway and specialized programming led by renowned specialists in the field, Willow Springs is redesigning healthcare as you know it. Unrivaled rehab services are now available 7 days a week at Willow Springs, getting patients back to their highest functional levels. Call Willow Springs today at 732-840-3700 or stop by anytime at willowspringsrehab.com. They'd love to share their changes.
Now you can listen to Inside the Law anytime online at WOBM-AM.com. Hosted by Robert Noby of Noby & Associates, your elder law attorneys, discussing topics like wills, estates, and various legal matters. Listen to Inside the Law at your leisure 24/7 by visiting the homepage at WOBM-AM.com and clicking on the Inside the Law button. Now, 2 ways to hear Inside the Law. Every other Saturday morning on WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 or anytime at WOBM-AM.com.
Get ready to shake, rattle, and roll against heart disease and stroke at the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, Monmouth and Ocean Counties Casino Night on Friday, March 18th at I Play America in Freehold. Join News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 and the American Heart Association while you enjoy networking, music, live auctions, and more when you place your bets, spin the wheel, and roll your lucky dice at Casino Night, Friday, March 18th at I Play America in Freehold.
Here's a financial tip from Josh Jelinski of the Jelinski Advisory Group. Invest in tax advantage accounts like 401ks and IRAs. Grow and distribute your portfolio, adding in tax-free and tax-deferred accounts like Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks. If you would like to learn more strategies, call today. 888-988-JOSH. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Jelinski Advisory Group and J.W. Cole are unaffiliated.
Celebrate New Jersey's finest young artists at the New Jersey Teen Arts Festival, June 1st through the 3rd at Ocean County College. There will be exhibits plus workshops and critiques for works in all art forms, presented by renowned area artists. Thousands of dollars in scholarships will also be available, whether it's music, voice, visual arts, photography, dance, theater, filmmaking, or creative writing. It's an event that must not be missed. Visit njteenarts.com to get involved or #ArtsEd now.
New ownership and a completely new vision of care are now available at the all-new Willow Springs on Burnt Tavern Road in Brick. With state-of-the-art renovations underway and specialized programming led by renowned specialists in the field, Willow Springs is redesigning healthcare as you know it. Unrivaled rehab services are now available 7 days a week at Willow Springs, getting patients back to their highest functional levels. Call Willow Springs today at 732-840-3700 or stop by anytime at willowspringsrehab.com. They'd love to share their changes.
From Ocean County to our nation's capital, talk to Congressman Tom MacArthur right now. 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions to @WOBM. Ask the Congressman on News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBM-AM.com.
And just a note for you, if you're going to be up with Jeremy Grunin right here tomorrow morning, look at warm weather events through the Southern Ocean County Chamber, and also with business analyst Patricia Pineda. They'll be his special guests tomorrow. Congressman, we left off with the provision that you inserted into a bill. It was basically an extension.
Well, the statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations.
You know, and I was mentioning the very first bill I introduced into Congress was trying to stop FEMA's ability to recoup funds that they had paid through no fault of the applicant. And it just shows how you have to work in Congress. I worked all year and couldn't get traction on that bill. Other bills that I thought I'd have more trouble with, I was able to get passed. And this one I thought made perfect sense, and we struggled with it. So I took one of the provisions out of it, and during the FEMA reauthorization, I inserted the statute of limitations as an amendment in that bill, and I was able to get it passed. And it passed the House about 10 days ago. And you know, and that's how I find you have to work in Congress. You have to keep a limited set of objectives in front of you and try by all means to get them passed. And if you can get them in a bill, like I did with some of the defense measures, or the 9/11 bill that passed, that's great. But if not, you have to find another way and get things done. So that's what I did there. And you know, Sandy, I mentioned there's sort of two tracks that we're on. One is trying to help people today, and one is trying to solve some of these problems from not happening in the future. And I still have a lot of concern about the total exclusion of second homes, many of which are rented during season and become, you know, part of the shore economy with people renting and spending in local stores. And that to me is a problem, that we have so many thousands of homes that haven't been put back in play, back in use. And so I look at that as an area where we need reform. I want to see people be able to go to a single source, a single person, to access all of the different federal programs and not have to go into that massive confusion with dozens of different programs. I think flood rates, insurance rates are a big problem, a looming problem that will drive ordinary people out of their homes. And we cannot make housing unaffordable up and down the eastern seaboard. So these and others are things that are really on my mind, and we're starting to think through some legislative solutions.
Now, let me ask you, just and given your background, you know, how does an insurance, what actuarial tables are they looking at that dictate that they are going to be charging this amount of money on a premium?
Well, they're starting with a 100-year event.
But are they looking at income brackets? Are they looking at you know?
No, they don't. What they want to do, and what the law is, it's been delayed, but the law has nothing to do with income. It purely looks at a home and assumes that it'll get hit with a 100-year flood, and what would you need to collect in premiums in that case? In my mind, having spent 30 years in insurance, if you go across this country, there are insurance pools for these sort of catastrophic risks: earthquakes in California, wind in Florida, hail in the Midwest, and flood is one of them. And I think we need to have a special type of funding for catastrophic floods and not put that on the backs of homeowners. I think that that's unfair, and it'll ruin the economy of states up and down the East Coast. And so it's called Bigger Waters. Many people in this area are familiar with it. And I think it was poorly thought out, well-intentioned, I'm sure, but it needs to be changed. And it's one of the things that's on my mind to work on. The flood program is up for renewal next year. And I am already focused on some of the things that need to happen, but also positioning myself to have a voice in that debate.
Let's ask the Congressman with Congressman Tom MacArthur. And we have a couple of minutes. Let's get to one phone call. Okay?
Sure.
Welcome to Ask the Congressman. You're with Congressman MacArthur. What's your first name? Where are you from?
Ray from Toms River.
Ray, thanks for calling. What's on your mind tonight?
Great. I don't know, about, the general agency. Thank God my home is okay. So I didn't really have to deal with FEMA. But what I found horrifying is that my aunt worked there after the Superstorm Sandy in their Coney Island office. She said there's a lot of fraud going on. They had, for example, she was a temporary worker, and they called a conference for all the workers, and they basically told them straight up that, let's try to work as slow as possible for you guys to be able to keep your jobs as long as possible. And then the higher-ups in the system were, like, there was this thing in Manhattan hotels, you know, like high-end hotels, had car services, you know, chauffeurs bringing them into Coney Island every day. I was just horrified. You know, I don't know about the system itself, but it seems like there's a lot of fraud in there.
Well,
like
it's
how the system runs, but it seems like there's a lot of fraud. Like besides for like the system not running properly, but there's like people taking out money and you know all that.
Well, Ray, what bothers me with some of these federal bureaucracies, whether it's FEMA or whether it's the VA, I think people focus too much on the employee and forget about the people that they're supposed to be serving. And in this case, you know, this is just bad management. I wouldn't call it fraud, but it's bad management when managers are living high on the hog and people are living in trailers.
Right, but it's more than that. It's that, you know, she said, like, you could watch, like, she claims, like, she saw that, like, where people were siphoning the funds for themselves, where, you know, funds are supposed to go to the people, and, you know, the guys who were higher up in the system were able to get bigger cuts or, you know, I'm not exactly sure how they got it, but...
Well, that's more than I know, but I know this. We have to have more accountability in the system. It has been badly managed, and part of it is because Katrina went very badly and there was an overreaction, and there are a lot of good people that are just struggling.
And we're going to have to get back to this. We have to stop that for a break, okay? That's the Congressman on WOBM-AM and WOBM-AM.com. Stick around, we'll be right back.
More with Congressman Tom MacArthur coming up next. This is Ask the Congressman. News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310.
This is Marianne Levy, News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310. Broadcast from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Preferred is there to help you. Preferred Home Healthcare with feeling.
The Jersey Shore's news leader. Listen online at WOBMAM.com, on the Radio Pup app for smartphones and tablets, and on air at 1160 and 1310.
News Talk Radio, WOBM.
Record high temperatures reported all throughout the state for our Wednesday. I think we're going to do it again on Thursday. We're partly cloudy tonight. We'll drop it back upper 40s to the mid 50s. Partly cloudy tomorrow, and we will slide up mid to upper 70s. We'll stay in the low 70s along the coast. Showers are early Thursday night, steady light rain late, and then more sun than clouds Friday. High low to mid 60s, upper 60s to the south. I'm Jeff Eno from the Weather Channel.
1160 and 1310 WOBM.
Hi, Auntie Christine. Thanks for the Easter basket you sent me. It has all my favorite candies and a stuffed bunny rabbit. The basket even has my name on it. It's the best Easter basket ever. I miss you.
Surprise the little ones in your life with personalized Easter baskets from Personal Creations. Each wicker basket comes with a fabric liner in the design you choose. Then it's filled to the brim with free candy, a chocolate bunny, jelly beans, Peeps, and a free stuffed bunny, all for just $19.99. Plus, you can have a name embroidered on it for free.
Thanks, Grandma. This Easter basket is awesome. Yum!
Personal Creations Easter baskets are always a big hit with kids. And right now, these incredible baskets are only $19.99. Each basket is filled with Easter favorites and personalized, all for just $19.99. The only way to get this special Easter deal is to go to personalcreations.com. Click the orange star in the upper right corner and enter secret code 3030. That's personalcreations.com. Click the star and enter secret code 3030. Personalcreations.com 3030.
Thursday, only on CNN. For the Republican presidential candidates, time is running out.
This election can't just be about electing the loudest person in the room.
Only 5 days remain before the winner-take-all Florida primary.
The time for the clowns and the acrobats and the dancing bears has passed.
The GOP face-off, live from Miami.
We're gonna win. Oh, are we gonna win?
Jake Tapper moderates the CNN Republican presidential debate. Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
You cried on her first day of kindergarten. You pulled an all-nighter to finish her 6th grade science project. You spent the last 2 summers and all of your vacation time looking for the best colleges. As a parent, you may think that telling your child in college that binge drinking is dangerous is a waste of your time. You may even think that checking in with her every day is a waste of energy. Well, it's not. Don't let their college years be wasted on beer and partying. New Jersey college students who believe their parents' opinions are important are less likely to binge drink. Find out how to keep your college student in check by visiting parentchecknj.com. That's parentchecknj.com. This message sponsored by the Impact New Jersey Coalition, a program of the New Jersey Prevention Network, Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey, the Center for Substance Abuse Prevention, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Hi, I'm Heather Barone from EPA Financial Services Corp. The passing of a loved one or a terminal illness is one of the most stressful and time-consuming events in anyone's life.
Having your affairs in order and the proper documents in place will alleviate some of the stress and time it takes your loved ones to settle or handle your affairs should something happen to you.
Having the proper estate documents can be one of the most valuable gifts you give your family. As scary as doing up a will or a power of attorney may seem to you now, nothing could compare to a tragic event happening to you without the proper documents in order.
I am Alan Florian, the State and Elder Care Attorney in the state of New Jersey. Our radio listening audience. I offer a 1-hour consultation, free of course. Call me at 732-818-9222 and allow me to help you and your family see to it that your wishes are in order before something happens.
Whether you're just starting out in life or just need a second opinion, call Alan Floria at 732-818-9222 and allow him to help you. That's 732-818-9222.
Keep the questions coming. Call now to talk to Tom MacArthur, 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions at WOBM. Ask the Congressman continues now on News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310, and WOBM-AM.com.
Welcome back. Congressman Tom MacArthur is with you. We're taking the calls, we're taking the tweets. We're going to get to a lot of stuff tonight. The next thing I just wanted to cover briefly was something that I brought in at the outset, which was the imperative that the president brought in as far back as November. We're going to close Guantanamo Bay prison. This is nothing new. It's been years that this has been a subject of discussion. Is his direction creating more pressure to get this done? What happens to the people who are still in it? Do we have any idea, or is it just close this thing?
Well, he's been talking about closing it since he was running for president, so it's been 8 years now. Mm-hmm. He is wrong. I just believe flat out wrong. He made a promise to close it. I guess he believes that still matters. But Tom, I've been to Guantanamo. I've seen every part of it. First of all, Guantanamo Bay is a massive naval station. You can close the detention center. It doesn't close down that whole base. All it does is create $500 million of new cost. It transfers these people to U.S. soil, which is against the law, a law that Congress passed and he signed as part of the budget agreement. He signed it numerous times, including when his own party ran Congress. There is broad support in both parties for keeping Guantanamo Bay open, and there is broad opposition in both parties to closing it. It's just a mistake. he has been releasing prisoners, and our own federal government, the Defense Intelligence Agency, says that 1 in 3 of them are returning to terrorist organizations to fight us, to kill our soldiers and our troops. It's ludicrous to me. It's madness. And we should not subject any American city to putting these people in their neighborhoods. It makes them a terrorist target, number one, and it allows terrorists to interact with others in our prison system.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to have these people creating networks in American prisons and creating potential cells that could affect us for decades to come? We need to keep Guantanamo Bay open. We need to keep the worst of the worst off of American soil. And I don't believe the president has the support in any of the parties to get done what he wants to get done.
In addition to mixing with the prison population and those points that you brought out, is there a concern about the provisions of the Geneva Convention that come into this? That if they're on American soil, it's a whole different set of rules that have to take effect? There
are a different set of rules, and I think those may complicate things, but I think it's much more basic than that. For me, it's about keeping Americans safe, and it's about making sure that that we don't have these people treated as criminals when, in fact, they're combatants. They're enemy combatants. So I think we need to keep it open. And, yes, there have been delays. Many of the delays in these legal proceedings in Guantanamo Bay are because of the people that are being detained.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't and remember, they're not treated as criminals in this detention center.
Right.
They're detained, but they have they have a lot of rights that a criminal would not have. And so the idea that they're being treated badly and they should be given criminal conventions here in the United States, I think is just confusing the issue.
Congressman Tom MacArthur's with you, and we've been talking about quasi-military things. I know you're out at the Joint Base.
I was today, yes.
I saw a great piece on ABC News this past weekend, that part of which involved air-to-air fueling, and they didn't mention the Joint Base, but I knew it was about the Joint Base. It was a KC-10. What were you doing out there today?
Well, I was meeting with the Air Force, the senior Air Force general, to talk about a number of things, but refueling was one of them. We were talking about the new KC-46 tankers.
Mm-hmm.
As you may recall, I was able to get into the defense bill last year a 2-year restriction on retiring or moving the KC-10s, and that bought us some time, but sooner or later that older airframe has to get replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And the KC-46 is coming. We now are down to 11 bases that are being considered, and I'm working to make sure that we become one of there's another cut coming. I don't know yet how many they're going to take off the list, but I want to make sure we stay on it. And not just me, the delegation and the state is working together. We're working together with the governor. I talked to the lieutenant governor this afternoon about this, and she's doing some things with the governor to make sure that the military knows how dedicated we are to this joint base. So there's a lot of activity all moving us in the same direction, and that's to make sure that the next round of basings for this new tanker is right here in New Jersey.
One of the other things you're doing that you really don't make a lot of noise about is that you are giving our former military members their due. You gave out some medals.
Yes.
Yeah. You were in the cinema. You were in the West End.
I was. Before I get to that particular case, because it was a really a touching one, George Washington said a long time ago, right after the Revolutionary War ended, that this nation's, he was looking forward, and he said, our nation's ability to recruit young people to fight our future wars is going to depend on how they see us treating those who fought our past wars. And I think he spoke as a prophet. And we not only have a debt of gratitude that we owe to our veterans and a promise we have to keep, but our current military is watching.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to do the right thing by our veterans. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Certainly making sure the VA provides the benefits that they're entrusted and expected to provide. But some of it is just honoring them. And so I had the family of a man who had just recently died. They had been trying to get his World War II medals for years, and they asked us to get involved, and I'm really glad they did, because it took us about 6 weeks to sort of unwind the knot in the Pentagon, and we were able to get Ted Paluk 7 of his World War II medals and present them to his family in Cinnaminson.
That's a kind of a closure, right?
Yeah, and it was. It was a great honor to do it. His sister, 2 sisters were there, and they were just really grateful to get them. And he had served with great distinction in the Battle of the Bulge. He's actually mentioned in a book on the subject, and it's unfortunate they couldn't get that done while he was living. But I was really happy we could help him.
We got a tweet from the last program that we were remiss in not getting to, and it had to do with the Veterans Commissary Access Act. I don't have that exactly correct, but it was from a disabled veterans group, and they were looking for help on that specific bill.
Yes, I'm familiar with it. It's we've spent a fair amount of time in the Military Personnel Subcommittee, which I'm vice chairman of, looking at the commissary system. And there's different opinions in the committee about what to do with the commissaries. I have a sort of a simplistic view, perhaps, of it, but I think our military personnel are under a lot of stress. Shopping should not be one of those stresses, in my view. And I've made it clear on the committee that I don't think we should mess with the commissary system too much. If they want to, make it more efficient around the edges, around the margins, that's fine. But this is something that increases the quality of life for our active duty and our retirees. And what this act does is it would allow a disabled veteran to have the same rights of access as a retiree in the commissary system. And, it's not only convenience. They and I forget the exact savings, but it's upwards of 20%, as I recall, of savings over regular market.
I would have never thought that there was a distinction, actually, between retirement and a disabled veteran.
Well, a retiree has a certain number of years of service. Somebody could be a disabled veteran after, one tour of duty.
Mm-hmm.
And so this act is trying to extend that privilege of commissary use to them. And these are small gestures, but they mean a lot to people. And if we can help people that have served our country make their lives easier and help them save money, I think that's something we ought to do.
And you spend a lot of time with people who are getting on in years. I know that there was something else that came up, and that was your ability to get a considerable sum for senior casework.
Yes,
over $800,000.
That's just for seniors.
Yeah.
We have, this gets back to the whole constituent service. I have 2 offices here in the district, one in Toms River and one in Evesham. And as you can imagine, we have probably more seniors than anyone else come in, because we have a lot of seniors in this district.
Absolutely.
And so we've been able to help, just in the last year, seniors get over $800,000 that they were struggling to get, mostly from Social Security, but from a host of federal agencies. And we talked earlier about people that we've been able to help with Sandy claims, and veterans that have come in some cases because they weren't classified right, or they were having trouble getting a rating, disability rating. And I really would encourage people, I wish I could change every law that needs changing. I'm working at it. I'm trying to work on the ones I think matter the most. But but I can help individual people as well work their way through a very confusing federal government. And sometimes all it takes is a call from our office. Sometimes it takes more than that, but we can help get proper attention on people's claims. And I'm really proud of our staff. They've done, they care, they work at it, they keep things on a tight diary and make sure we don't let anything slip through the cracks. And we're helping people resolve real issues that matter to them.
And it's amazing how many there are. But as you said, it's a complicated and confusing system. You ran a business, and you had a system. There was a work ethic. There was a whole way of working within the framework that you set up. When you came into this, is it apples and oranges, or did you look at it and go, "What a mess"? How are we going to straighten this out?
Well, there are similarities. People are people. I don't care if you're in the public sector or private sector. People are people, and I think you get more done if you understand that and you treat people in certain ways. So that certainly, I think, helps. The systems are very different. And whereas in a company I was able to build a certain culture of service and of accountability, I'm one part of a very, very huge federal government, and there are lots of cultures. Some are good and some are terrible. And unfortunately, right now, for example, the culture in the veterans organization seems to favor the employee, not the veteran.
Right.
And so that's a problem, and we're trying to fix that. But certainly finding the right ways to move things, I found that my business experience helps me with that. And
Congressman Tom MacArthur, we have a few more minutes, and if you're interested in speaking to him, we're at 732-505-1160. We'll look forward to hearing from you. We'll be back right after this.
Call Congressman Tom MacArthur now, 732-505-1160. Ask the Congressman continues next. News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310.
Tune in to Luz Katigna, certified financial planner and host of The Financial Physician, every Friday at 10 a.m. on News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310. During these stressful times, it's more important than ever to keep informed about the economy, financial markets, investments, and income taxes. He'll take your phone calls and answer questions on any money matter. You'll hear no-nonsense, straightforward financial advice and commentary. So make an appointment with your financial physician every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Talk Radio, WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310.
You might ask, what's so great about March? Well, at Cleese Bar and Grill in Seaside Heights, March is their favorite month. St. Patrick's Day starts early, and you can enjoy Irish food and drink specials all the way through March 17th. Feast on bangers and mash, corned beef and cabbage, and more, served all day for lunch and dinner. And remember, every Thursday for just $17.99, enjoy a phenomenal prime rib dinner, including soup or salad, potato, dessert, and coffee. Make March your favorite month, too. Head to Cleese Bar and Grill in Seaside Heights, open 7 days a week. Cleese, the locals tavern that feels like home.
Offer may not apply to all areas. Are your student loan debts crushing your budget? Do you owe more than $10,000 in federal student loans? We may have great news for you. As a qualifying applicant, you could have your entire federal student loan forgiven. That's right. Call Nationwide Student Servicing at 800-295-6099. 800-295-6099. If you work for a nonprofit, if you're a firefighter, nurse, teacher, police officer, or other government employee and have over $10,000 of federal student loans, call us at 800-295-6099. That's 800-295-6099. Using recently released new U.S. government programs, our loan specialists can help you fix your student loans. We've helped thousands already. Call our loan advisors now and make sure you receive maximum loan forgiveness, loan reduction, or consolidation. End the anxiety. Call Nationwide Student Servicing now, 800-295-6099. 800-295-6099.
March over the bridge. We'll actually drive over the bridge because spring's about to arrive at the Crab's Claw Inn, a favorite of locals and visitors alike for more than 30 years. Forget winter by joining old friends and making new ones during two great celebrations of St. Patrick. There's Parade Day this Saturday, featuring entertainment by the Snakes, and then on St. Patrick's Day, Thursday, March 17th, there will be great Irish entertainment all day long with Bloody Callan and Chef Craig's corned beef and cabbage, a Crab's Claw tradition. Make March the time to visit the Crab's Claw Inn, Route 35 North in Lavalette.
It's all too much. Money's tight, and I just don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage.
If you're having trouble paying your mortgage, you need to get the facts. A housing counselor in your area can help you understand your options. Certified by the federal government, counseling is completely free. Don't wait, get the facts. Find your counselor at njhousing.gov/foreclosure. That's njhousing.gov/foreclosure.
This message sponsored by the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Congressman Tom MacArthur is here to talk to you. 732-505-1160 or tweet your question at WOBM. This is Ask the Congressman. News Talk Radio WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBM-AM.com.
We have a couple of more minutes left, and just to let you know, we're sharing time with the Lakewood Blue Claws now through at least Labor Day, and if they get lucky and get into the playoffs, it'll be beyond that. We'll be here next week, and you'll like this, Congressman. We're bringing in a teacher from Keansburg, Barbara Leary, and her sixth graders. They started their own business.
Nice.
They are raising money for animal sheltering.
Oh.
And they actually are entrepreneurs. They could probably learn a few things from you, or you might learn something from them, because I don't know if you were doing this when you were in the sixth grade.
I surely wasn't, but it's a great idea and it's a good cause.
Then on Tuesday, the 29th, we'll be asking the senator, State Senator Sam Thompson will be aboard that night. We got a tweet from a fellow named Ron Perry, and it involved, it was basically a commentary on the Narcan system. We've become accustomed to the fact now that there is an antidote for a heroin overdose. So most of the time it works. Not every time. It's not foolproof. And I think his comment had to do with focusing the system so that people who are given the benefit of it don't turn around and use it as an excuse to just be a recidivist about it and go back into it. Is there anything going on that on the federal level that you know of?
No, not that I've heard of on that particular issue. There's certainly some things at the federal level about increasing funding to help police departments make use of Narcan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the first step here is to try to get this to be uniformly used, because many, many lives have been saved. And I think that Narcan deserves support across police departments. I think if there are abuses or if people are repeating it, those may be things over time we have to look at. But right now, I think we've got to try to stem the flow of this crisis. It's just epidemic, and Narcan has been a tremendous benefit to law enforcement.
And you would agree that education and treatment have to go kind of hand in hand.
Well, sure. I mean, you want to save people's lives so you can help them then.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pieces to that. Everything from education to treatment to drug courts. There's no one thing that's going to solve this. We've got to stop the flow of the heroin in the first place. It's flooding over the southern border from Mexico, and we've got to stop the people and the drugs that are coming across the border. To me, everything else will fail until we get to that issue.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to get to tonight, and a couple of minutes remaining, is literacy.
Yes.
The district reading challenge. Let's talk about something nice for a change here.
Well, yes.
Tell me about the reading challenge. I mean, I'm big on literacy. Words are my business. So literacy to me is a big deal.
I literally read 5 or 6 hours a day as a kid. My mother was a librarian. Both of her parents were principals and then superintendents in 2 different districts. And we didn't watch TV Monday to Friday, none. And so I read a lot growing up. And you see how your time gets squeezed. And I see kids today, they don't. I saw my own children as they grew up, not reading as much. So I issued this challenge to read 3 books by the end of March. I just finished my 3rd one last week. And so I'm starting a 4th one now that I might finish before the month is over. And so I'm doing it along with the kids. I forget the exact number, but I think we were up over 500 had participated. I went to a school in Morristown Upper Elementary a couple of weeks ago, and read with the class, fourth grade class, and so it was fun, and I'm glad to see a lot of kids participating.
It's really fascinating to watch a youngster who is growing up digitally, and who may already have a phone and is working is texting and all that kind of thing, and learning that whole ethos that goes with texting, the abbreviations, the emojis,
yes.
And the spelling issues, and then to bring them back into literature.
Well, it opens your mind, I think, and people that read are, they're able to have different kinds of conversations. I think, it lets you think of a world beyond the one you're living in day to day, and I think it's a great, and it's kind of fun too. It's been enjoyable to see so many young people participating.
Okay, so what books did you read?
Well, the first one was Under the Same Sun, which was really startling to me. It was an account by a young man in his early 20s who had escaped from North Korea, and it was about his life there. And I've adopted 2 of my 3 children from South Korea, and I was reading about this young man's life and his experiences, and my kids were not in the same country, but they're very nearby, and they're in a country that's at risk right now. So that book just really opened my eyes. And then I read a book called You Are the Message, more of a practical book, and the one I just finished was a history of, it's called Zealot, and it's a history of sort of the life and times around the time of Jesus, and it looks at the whole of Jerusalem and the Roman Empire, and it was really interesting. I like reading history.
You are a history buff. Representative Tom MacArthur, thanks for joining us again tonight.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Ask the Congressman is a presentation of Town Square Media New Jersey Shore News Group. Mark Anthony is our producer. Bradley James and Tom Tremblay provide the video and digital coordination. Our programming consultant is Steve Armino. Director of Town Square Media New Jersey News Operations is Eric Scott. Thank you for listening, and good night.
You've been listening to Ask the Congressman with 3rd District Representative Tom MacArthur, a presentation of WOBM News on News Talk Radio WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBM-AM.com.